All right. All right. So good evening, guys. What's a Tuesday? The end of the year is like pressing upon us, right? I'm sure we all feel the pressure of Christmas and the holidays and all the fun that comes with it, parties upon parties. I know just this past weekend, we hosted a massive party for our gym. We had hundreds of people there. It was wild. And I'm still recovering from just the planning and the setup and the teardown. So know that I get it too. This time of year comes with a lot of fun, which is why I actually wanted to set up something pretty special as we close down the year. Because if there's one thing that I've learned from Jenni Grier and her dad, David Bird, is you want to be proactive in your thought before that chapter, like the year closes. You want to be proactive in thinking like, what does my next year look like? You want to be thinking about goals before you even, before the year even starts. And so I actually am so excited that Jenni has carved out some time in her evening to share with us. And if you guys have never had the opportunity to work with Jenni Grier or David Bird, you do get the opportunity at that rank of elite or higher. The Filiponis bring on a special training once a month. For all elites and higher, all tied to their team. So you're a part of that if you didn't know that. So that's a pretty special, should I say, invitation that you get once your business does kind of reach those sizes. But there's actually many, and many of you probably don't even know, there's many actually I would consider golds or higher who actually work one-on-one with Jenni and David. And I can truly attribute the growth that our business has had in the last 12 months, which we mapped it out was over 700% growth, is due to what these two individuals have been able to teach me, not just in the last year, because I actually learned their achievement system over a decade ago that truly was the trajectory of finding a business and creating a business, with our CrossFit gym and creating a life by design and being intentional about, the day-to-day actions that really compound. But all of that to say starts with vision. And if you don't have a vision for the life that you want to create, you're not going to create it. That's what it just comes down to. And so we want to be intentional with that. And I'm so excited that Jenni's on here because she's someone that I look up to. She's someone that I have a lot of respect for. She works hand in hand with people in and outside of Q Sciences all across this industry and even in traditional business. And she's here to pour into all of us tonight. So thank you so much, Jenni, for being here, for your time. I know it's so valuable. And thank you for pouring into us around the topic of vision, because I know it's one of your favorites too.
Yes, it is. So thank you, Katie. And before I jump in, can you give me access to share my screen?
Absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you. So I just want to say, huge also kudos to Katie, because you may or may not know, but she has achieved Golden Key. So Golden Key is that kind of recognition within our system that you've really kind of mastered the next level achievement system, and you've demonstrated those habits and behaviors. And it's not impossible, but it's not necessarily easy either, because it's really working on habits and behaviors. So you guys know this, but you have just such an amazing leader in her, and it has been such a blessing being able to work, Katie, hand in hand with you and getting to know you and working with you. So thank you for having me on. So I'm going to jump right in. I want you guys to know at the end, I'm going to leave plenty of time for questions, right? So I am going to jump into talking about visualizing, because, as we always have this saying, those of you who've done our system or worked with us know we always talk about plan tomorrow before tomorrow begins. And then we talk about plan next month before next month begins. And we really kind of want to do the same thing, like kind of plan next year before next year begins. But what I want to do tonight is I want to talk to you about some things that I'd like you to consider doing to really kind of let's close out 2021, right? And then let's set yourself up for success for 2022 and beyond. Like Katie said, this is the time of year that it's easy to get easily distracted and carried away with the hustle and bustle of the holidays. And that's all good. But now is also the perfect time to carve out some time and space to maximize the rest of 2021 and to set yourself up for success moving forward. So the things that I'm going to talk to you about tonight, please know that I will send Katie a handout that she can get to all of you. So you don't have to be, I want you to take notes, but I'm going to give you like some questions I want you to ask yourself. And don't feel like you're having to like feverishly write down all those questions. I will give you a handout on those. Okay, so with that, I am going to share my screen. Okay, can everybody see that? Okay, awesome. Okay, so let me see. Oh, I lost seeing y'all. Okay, now I got you back. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about 3 steps. I'm going to quickly jump into some of this because I really want to get to, really the visualizing part and the dreaming big for beyond. But the things I'm asking you to do, I promise, if you carve out 1 hour between now and December 31st, that's all it's going to take. So I'm not talking about massive amounts of time. I'm talking scheduling 1 hour with yourself to do some of these things, right? So the 3 steps that I want to talk to you about are this. 1, we want to decide now how you're going to close out 2021. Let's not forget we have about 3 weeks left or so. I'm looking at my calendar in the year. So let's not forget that, right? So I'm going to briefly touch on that. But then I want us to think about how we're going to reflect. Reflection is something I'm going to talk about. It's a skill that I think we don't use enough. And then number 3, begin visualizing 2022 and beyond. Okay. And like I said, I will be sending out, I'm not sending out the whole PowerPoint slide, but I will be sending out a handout with some of these questions and things. So the first thing I want us to think about is, it's December 7th. It's not too late. We're 1 week in, but have you decided how you want to finish 2021? Like, I don't want us just to skip over that, right? Because that's really important. I want you to finish 2021 strong. Maybe you've set a goal for yourself. Maybe you haven't, but what's your goal for your Q business, right? Maybe it's you want to have so much in sales, or you want to recruit so many ambassadors, or you want to hit a certain rank, but let's not forget you got 3 weeks to go strong. And, this is also the season where people are buying gifts for people. They're interested in spending money. It's a good season for these kind of things, right? I think also there's also this kind of trend that people, especially in America, are really wanting to invest in small business. And so I think you guys can capitalize on that. That's an angle to think about because most people are wanting to support a lot of small businesses, right? So, then, but I want you to decide what's your goal. Then I want you to think about what are 1 or 2 actions you're taking between now and the 31st, right, to achieve that goal. And then on top of that, I want you to think about what are a couple of feelings you would have if your goal were true today. Now, why do I say that? This is something I love talking about, but most of us live our life cause and effect. Now, what do I mean by that? Meaning we kind of say, when I reach that goal, then I'll be excited, or then I'll be happy. And that's kind of cause and effect. I'll act a certain way when something happens. I like to teach people that our goal is really to live our life causing an effect, meaning you choose in advance how you want to feel, right? And then this is kind of, it's getting into a little bit of that woo-woo stuff, but I'll tell you, I love me some woo-woo stuff because I promise you, I can back it up with science. We don't have time for all of that tonight, but this is kind of like that whole thing of you are a magnet to your reality. But what I mean by that is you will feel abundant in your head and in your mind before wealth shows up in your bank account. If you're waiting for wealth to show up in your bank account to feel abundant, you're living by cause and effect. And I want you to flip that on its head. And I want you to start living your life by causing an effect. Meaning I want you to decide right now, if you hit your goal on December 31st, how would you feel? You might feel successful. You might feel elated. You might feel excited. Well, then guess what? You got to start living by that right now. And I do it with simple things. I'll give you a really quick example. So I was flying for work the other day. I was having to go from Nashville. I was in Nashville for a soccer tournament for my girls. And then I was going to Kansas City and I had to go through Dallas to get there. Well, all my flights were delayed. I originally was not supposed to be landing till like 11:30, but now it looked like I was going to be landing at 1:30 in the morning. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to go standby. And I was like, but my chances of getting standby on 2 flights are like slim to none. I get that, right? But then I said, you know what? I'm going to practice what I preach. I really try to do this, guys. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to live in the energy that it's supposed to happen. I mean, and I started visualizing this on my way, walking up to the ticket counter. So sure enough, I get up there, they're like, well, you're on the list, but we're not really sure we're going to be able to get you on. So they've basically boarded the first plane. And I just go ahead and sit down at my gate, which is one gate next to it. And all of a sudden, right before they close the doors, they call my name. And I'm like, oh my God, I made the standby. And I run on the plane. So then I'm on the plane and I'm like, okay, well, this flight's been delayed. So there's no way I'm going to make the earlier connecting flight in Dallas. I was like, so now I'm going to be 4 hours in Dallas. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm still going to get in at 1:30. But I was like, you know what? Okay, how can I flip this? I love Mexican food. I love margaritas. So I'm just going to go hang out at some restaurant in Dallas and have some margaritas and drink Mexican food, right? You see where I'm going with this? So I was going to be landing at like 6:50 and the flight was taking off at 7:05. So I knew there was no way I was going to make that. So guess what? I land and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to check it. And all of a sudden that flight's been delayed by 30 minutes. And I'm like, I think I can make it. So I take off in this massive sprint, which I'm now telling myself is my exercise for the day, like my massive sprint with the luggage. I get to that gate and they're like, oh, we don't think you're going to get on. I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to get on. They're like, we don't know. I'm like, well, I'll just hang out and find out. Sure enough, I was the last one to get on that flight. And so I ended up landing in Kansas City at 10 p.m., which might sound kind of late, but compared to 1:30, I was ecstatic. So also I'll tell you this funny story. I had been in Nashville, in a hotel room with my husband and my 2 daughters, 2 queen beds for 3 nights. So as you can imagine, that was a lot of togetherness. So I was also visualizing me being in that hotel room by myself in a king bed. And I was so excited. So, but the point is, I decided early on, and I can't tell you this is what caused it to happen. I can tell you it makes a difference though in your energy. I decided to live that day in the energy that basically the universe conspires in my favor. And whether I made the flight or I didn't make the flight, it was going to be good. So I can't, I can't promise you living by these feelings absolutely just means you're going to make your December 31st goal. No, you've got to do the actions too. But what I can tell you, it's going to change your energy, and that makes all the difference in the world. Okay, so with that's step number 1, right? Decide how you're going to finish December. Now, I really want to point this out. My dad and I talk about this a lot. I've mentioned this on Marielle's leader call, but let's just say, so today's the 7th. I want you to know, I want you to maximize, from like really the 7th till I would say about the 20th. Okay. Maximize your activity. We're going to lose people a little bit from the 21st to the 25th. It's just Christmas. We are, right? And then you maximize the end of the month. So I just want to bring intention, because a lot of us in this industry, we suffer from the end of the month syndrome. And what do I mean by that? We do 80% of our work in the last 2 weeks of the month, really the last 7 to 10 days. If you do that in December, you're going to struggle. But if you get to work and do activity between now and the 20th, and then really pick it up on the 26th through the 31st, it can change the outcome of your December. Okay. So now step number 2, reflection. I love this quote by John Maxwell. He says, reflection turns experience into insight. Socrates said the unexamined life is not worth living. And most people don't pause to ask ourselves the big questions. And I really believe self-reflection is a skill. It's this ability to be aware of our lessons learned, right? And to apply those lessons learned. But it's also an essential skill for personal growth, because without it, we just kind of walk around unconscious and reactive. And then guess what? We keep doing the same things over and over again, even if they didn't work for us, right? Because we are just kind of reactive creatures by nature. So without self-reflection, we simply kind of go through life without awareness, without thinking, kind of just moving from one thing to the next. You might be checking off a lot of things on your to-do list, but are you effective or are you productive, right? But I want self-reflection to be a time where you pause to think, you analyze. It doesn't have to be long, right? Remember, I told you this entire exercise that I'm giving you for tonight will take you 1 hour. That's it, right? But this self-reflection allows you to gain perspective. Now, I do want to say this, self-reflection, the intent of self-reflection is to assist you in positive change. It is not to bring you down. This is not the time to beat yourself up and, oh, I should have done this and I should have done this and I should have done this. No, this is a way to lead you into better ways to support yourself and to practice, self-compassion and to listen to that inner knowing. So I have some questions on these are going to be on your handout, but I have some questions I want you to ask yourself about 2021, right? Like, how do you feel overall in the past year? I want you to give yourself a score of 1 to 10, 10 the highest, 1 the lowest, right? How happy do you feel in your personal life? What events, things, and people, affected that number? How happy do you feel in your professional life? Once again, what events, things, and people affected that number? What were your biggest wins this year, personally or professionally? What were your top 3 lessons learned this year? What did you learn and how have you changed? And then the last question, what worked well in your business and what didn't work well, right? And then last but not least, what are you thankful for? Right? So just take some time. Now, I don't want you just to think about these. Y'all know I'm a big proponent of writing clarifies thought. I want you to journal. You can do it on a notebook. You can do it on the handout that I'm going to give you through Katie. I don't care how you do it, but just spend some time and kind of journal through this. Because what is this going to do? This exercise is going to increase your awareness. Now, why is that important? Because awareness creates choice, and then you get to choose, right? So reflection, we want to reflect on 2021. How did we do? And why do we want to do that now? Because we always want to do that before the new year begins, right? And then step number 3, this is all about really vision. And I kind of do it like 3 things. Like 1, you have to decide. I'm going to talk about each one of these steps. You have to decide, what does a day in your life 5 years in the future look like, right? And then we have to talk about this whole, living your life by causing an effect. We have to be in love with what we desire, right? Your feelings and emotions are the driving force behind your 5-year vision statement and behind your visualization. I always say that whether you say God or the universe, God doesn't respond always to what we want, or the universe doesn't respond to what we want. The universe responds and God responds to who we are being. And who we are being is made up of our thoughts and our feelings. So the question is your thoughts and feelings in alignment with your future, or are your thoughts and feelings in alignment with your past? Right? So we've got to be in love with what we desire. And then we have to visualize. We reaffirm our goals through visualization. And I'm going to talk about each one of these. So the first thing is, what's your 5-year vision statement? We love a 5-year vision statement. 5-year vision statement is simply where you write, you pick a date 5 years in the future. I always pick my birthday because I love on my birthday, I sit down and rewrite my vision statement. My father always picks New Year's Day because he loves it's the new beginning. He loves doing it on New Year's Day. But all you do is you dream about life, right? And you decide, what does a day in your life 5 years in the future look like? So your vision is just really this desired future state at which one hopes to arrive. It's this imaginative picture of a future state. Now, why is this important? Your vision statement is the foundation of any program. And it's important because I think a lot of times we have lost the ability to dream big. Now, why is that? Because we all get into goal setting. I have people who start my program and they'll say, nope, Jenni, I want to set goals this month. And I'll be like, nope, we're going to write your 5-year vision statement first. Because anything you achieve in life, you're going to achieve in your head first. And people often confuse dreams and goals. Now, I believe goals are not possible unless you first have a dream. So I want you to dream about your life. If you were Cinderella's fairy godmother and you could wave your magic wand, what would a day in your life 5 years in the future look like? Now, they say that 90% of people, now some studies say 85, some studies say 95, but roughly 90% of people given up, have given up on their New Year's resolutions by January 16th. Y'all, a New Year's resolution is something you make on January 1 to last you the whole year. And they've given up 16 days in. Why is that? They're not bad people. You might be one of them, right? What they've done though, is in their head, they kind of set a goal. They thought of it as a goal, but their New Year's resolution was really more of a dream. And so by the 16th, they realized it was unattainable. So they just decided to give up, right? But this is why I want you to dream first. I want you to dream about your future. And then your goals are going to be the stepping stones to your dream, right? Albert Einstein says, your imagination is a preview of life's coming attractions. And that is so true, right? But most of us have not used our imagination since about kindergarten, right? Because we haven't really been encouraged to use it. But this is really where you just, if anything was possible, what would a day in your life look like? So I have some questions I want you to ask yourself for this too. And I'll give you these questions in the handout. These are some questions that are going to help you write your 5-year vision statement. So the first question is, when somebody asks you what you do for work, how do you respond? Well, if you could wave your magic wand, how would you answer that question? Describe your physical surroundings. Where are you working? Where do you live? Where do you spend your free time? Describe the people surrounding you, right? In your business and in your personal life. And how is your relationship with those people? How do you feel about your personal and professional life, right? What are you most proud of? What's your favorite way to spend downtime? And I love this question. In 5 years in the future, in a day in your life, what brings you joy? So I want you to journal these as well, because answering these questions is going to help you write your 5-year vision statement. And that's all I want you to do. If you have our achievement planner, you can write it in the yellow goals tab. There's the vision statement page. I'm going to provide you a page in the handout. You can take any notes page. And I want you to answer the questions and then write your 5-year vision statement. And I want you to write it in present tense as if you're already there. Like, hey, I wake up and I'm living in this city and I'm living in this house and this is what I do. I love dream boards. I really do. I think dream boards serve a really good purpose, but I love vision statements more. And here's why. You can do both. Dream boards, we have a tendency to cut out pictures of things, and it's good to dream about these too, because we all need dreams, but we have a tendency to cut out like places we want to go and things we want in our life, which that's important too. But a vision statement forces you to think about how you're going to spend your time, right? I mean, like if you could wave your magic wand when you wake up, what do? Hopefully, some of you might say, oh, I'd love to wake up and go to yoga. Some of you might say, that sounds miserable. That's the last thing I want to do, right? But it's whatever you want, right? I remember when I was in corporate America and I was an executive and I was working crazy hours, I wrote my vision statement. Now, this is before I even knew working with my father was a possibility. And I remember in my vision statement, I wanted to take my kids to school and I wanted to pick them up from school, because those were two things I had never been able to do. And that sounds so simple. So somebody else, I had a friend who was a stay-at-home mom, and she's like, Jenni, I promise you, taking your kids to school and picking them up is really overrated. Like, you don't really need, but I mean, for me, that's what I really wanted. So that was in my vision statement, right? But make it whatever you want it. It doesn't have to be a novel. It might be 10 sentences. It might be 5 pages. I don't care. As long as it covers a day in your life. Okay. So now I want to talk about the visualization piece, right? We talked about, you got to decide what you want, then you got to be in love with the feelings, and then you got to, visualize it. Well, how many of you believe what you focus on grows, right? Like most people would say, yeah, I believe that, because most of us do. Well, here's the thing. I love this. Let me ask you this. How much time today, and if you want to go like over the past week, you can do that too. How much time did you spend visualizing what you want to happen in the future? Now, some of you might say none. Some of you might say, oh, I woke up this morning, I spent 5 minutes of quiet time doing that. There's no judgment in that. But this is what I find interesting too. Now I want you to think about how much time today or the past week have you spent worrying about the future or worrying about what might not happen? And the point is, we give a whole lot more time thinking about what we don't want to happen than we do thinking about what we do want to happen. But yet we believe what we focus on grows. See where I'm going? That's kind of an oxymoron right there, right? But this study showed that there was a scientist, they did a study on worrying, like how much time people spent worrying in a day. And you know what they found out? That on average, people spend an hour and 50 minutes a day worrying. I mean, not in a row, but 5 minutes here, 5 minutes here, 20 minutes here. Now, if you add that up in a week, do you know that adds up to 12 hours and 53 minutes? Now, if you add that up over the average lifespan of a person, do you know what that adds up to? 5 years of your life worrying. Now, I'm not saying I want you to sit down and visualize for an hour and 50 minutes a day. I know some of you are thinking, oh my gosh, she thinks this is, no, I just want you to give it a little bit of time, right? Because it is so important that we give it a little bit of time, focusing on what we do want to happen. So I love this study. I talk about this study a lot, but I want to talk to you about the power of visualization. So there was an Australian psychologist, and he took a group of basketball players, all of equal skill, and he divided them into 3 groups. And the first group, they were practicing making free throw shots. The first group, he had them practice every day for 20 minutes. The second group, he had them only visualize. They never touched a basketball during this 6-week period. They only visualized making the free throw shots. And then the third group didn't do either. They did not practice nor visualize. After the 6 weeks, then he studied how much they had improved. The first group that physically practiced for 20 minutes a day improved by 24%. The group that only visualized for 20 minutes a day, guess what? They improved by 23%, almost as much as the group that physically practiced. Now, the third group didn't improve at all. Now, some of you might be saying, yeah, Jenni, that's really nice. Well, I don't really need to improve on making free throw shots, but that's not the point. What are you visualizing about your Q business? Like when you go meet with that prospect, have you visualized what you want to happen? Or do you walk into that meeting worried about everything that could go wrong? And, oh, what if I say the wrong thing? And I'm not saying worry is going to completely disappear. This is not about perfection. We all worry. I worry. Worry is natural, but we don't want to live there, right? And we've got to spend a little bit of time focused on what we do want to happen. I mean, I could give you a ton more studies like this that prove out the science behind the power of visualization, but it is so powerful. So in closing, I just want you to take 1 hour between now and December 31st to take that time to, 1, decide how you want to close out the year, to decide how to reflect on 2021 and decide your 5-year vision and start to visualize that, right? So when we can use this skill of reflection, guess what? We kind of get some lessons learned. And then we get to choose how we want to apply those lessons learned. And then we get to choose how we want that to look in the future. But if you continue to live by the habits and the behaviors and the feelings in your past, then your future is going to look a lot like your past. If you want your future to look different than your past, then we want to create that awareness around what of that can we tweak so that you can reach your next level. And I always say this, you know what? You got to get ready to step into that river of change, right? Because every next level in your life will require a different version of you. And that's not a bad thing. You're going to keep getting to new and new levels, but this all does not happen in our comfort zone, right? So you got to be ready to step into that river of change because you're like, you know what? I'm ready. I'm ready to wade the water. I'm ready to get in because I'm ready to reach my next level. So with that, I just want you to think about your December 31st goal, the actions and the feelings, complete the reflection, and do your 5-year vision statement, and then start to visualize it. Guys, in visualizing it, it can be as simple as 1 minute a day. You can do it while you're in the shower and you're letting the water run over you. Just spend some time thinking about what you wrote, or thinking about, practice it with little things like me making the flights on standby. Those are little things to practice living in the feeling of what you want to happen in the future. And I do this, especially during the holiday season, with parking spots when I have to go shopping. When I leave my house, I will start visualizing, you know what? I'm going to find a parking spot. 80% of the time it works. But guess what? On the 20% that it doesn't, you know what I say to myself? The universe conspires in my favor. I must have needed some more steps that day, and that's okay too. So live in that energy. Live in the energy of seeing all of life as incomplete rather than wrong. And so now what I would love to do, I'm going to stop sharing so I can see all of you guys again. And I would love to open it up for questions. So anything's fair game. I can't always promise you I have answers, but I just want you to know anything is fair game. So what questions do you guys have for me? I love Bridget does. I love this. She does it when she rolls the dice for backgaming. I'm just now seeing some of the chats. I try not to look at chats when I'm doing the presentation because, you know, I'm a big person on not multitasking. So I threw a lot of information at you in 30 minutes. So what questions do you guys have?
Hi, Jenny. Question for you. I hopped on about 20 minutes late, but I'm a big visualizer. I have been for like 10 plus years. And I've been listening to a book, The High Five Habit, and she talks about visualizing even the harder steps because of research based on brain scans, associating going through actions that are hard. And when you are visualizing those, you are creating like a normalcy behind you getting through those. So have you ever coached people through visualizing like hard steps in their goals or actions?
I visualize all steps, the easy ones and the hard ones, right? Because I believe just like the free throw shots, the people who visualized it, what did they do? Their body got used to doing it just by visualizing it, right? So I tell people, you know, I want you to visualize what you're going to say to that prospect at the end, you know, when you want them to sign up, what steps, especially visualizing, you know, like you said, those things that kind of force us out of our comfort zone, because the more you visualize it and rehearse it in your head, I mean, why do athletes have mindset coaches? Because how many times have they rehearsed winning that race or winning that game? They've done it in their heads 1,000 times before their body has done it. And that's so huge. So yes, there are definitely steps and techniques you can do, but it also can be as simple as, you know, in the morning, I say I love it in the morning or at night. And here's why I say that. There's science to back this up. When you wake up in the morning, you're still kind of in alpha brain waves. Those are kind of like dreamlike brain waves. When we get into beta, we're in conscious mind. And when we get into high beta, we're in stressed out. So when we get really stressed out, overwhelmed, we're in high beta, right? So subconscious mind is where all the magic happens. I won't get into all the science about that. You probably know it listening to some of the things you're reading, but you know, the subconscious mind is where all the magic happens. So when you can do your visualizations, now I want you to do them at any time. There's no judgment in when you do them, but if you can do them first thing in the morning, it's before you've kind of gotten your day going and you're still in those subconscious brain waves, and it's really powerful. So I try to wake up, and before I have my coffee or before the house is awake, I go down to a certain chair in my house. Some days I do it for an hour. Some days I do it for 5 minutes. There's no judgment. And I just sit down. I go through my day. I will have looked at my list of coaching clients, and I actually visualize each one of my coaching clients and sending energy and love to them throughout the day so that we have the right conversation on that call. And then I visualize some things that I want to happen in my future. And I can tell you, guys, amazing. I have just crazy stories that happen. And also the intuition I receive when I really do that, the guidance, I get these gut feelings like, oh, Jenny, you need to reach out to this person, or you need to do this. And every time I do it, magic happens. It's just crazy. But when we don't quiet our mind, we stay in the hustle and bustle. We don't give ourselves the space. Do you know, Einstein used to say in his greatest inventions, when he couldn't figure something out, he would tell somebody he was going to lay on the couch to take a nap. He really wasn't napping. He was really quieting his mind to get into those alpha brainwaves to see what else he could come up with, right? Because we cannot solve a problem from the same level of consciousness that created it. So I hope that was kind of a long-winded answer to that. I hope that helped.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually just started doing it today because I just learned about this today. So I've been visualizing myself having long days of reach outs and invites, and it being hard, because with research it says that when you visualize an action, of doing that hard thing, you will be more inspired to actually follow through with that action.
Yes.
And so I've always been very positive, like big goals. But when you visualize the hard stuff and you can get through that, you are more likely to actually do it, like to when it comes about and it's a really hard day, you've already lived that experience. And so I've noticed a huge change just by doing it today for myself. So
right.
really cool.
Well, it's also what you do is you make the impossible possible, right? So I always love the story of, I think it was roughly 60 years ago, Roger Bannister broke the, oh gosh, I'm going to get this, wasn't it the 4-minute mile that he broke? He broke the 4-minute mile, and after he did it, do you know, like 4 weeks after he did it, 6 more people did it. Another 4 weeks after that, 10 people did it. And then now 1,300 people have broken that record. But what did he do? He made people, before that, nobody believed it was possible to break a 4-minute mile, and he made people believe it was possible. So by visualizing those hard steps in your head, for yourself, you're making what feels impossible possible, which is huge. Yeah.
I just wanted to share one thing with you.
Yeah,
Dave Berg coached me in 2009. I was paying for him to coach me. It's been over 10 years since I've been in the industry, but I wrote my 5-year vision statement and everything came through. Everything came through. I have the house, my kids. I didn't have them before, and I even wrote what their names are going to be. My kids are those names. It works. So I just wanted to share that. That's all.
That is awesome. So Zach, I'll tell him that story. I'll tell him you said hello. That is awesome. I love that. Thank you for sharing. Who else? What other questions do you guys have? Don't be shy. Anyone?
I'll chime in.
Yeah.
You mentioned like the visualization in the morning. And I know I think it was January of last year, you had breath work tied to it. Like, do you recommend like breath work and just that quieting of your mind? Like there's something pretty special with the combination, or visualizing in itself and breath work being like 2 separate practices?
Oh no, like, and you don't have to do breath work to visualize. And I love breath work. What breath work allows you to do is it kind of forces you out of that beta brainwaves, that high beta, it forces you into alpha. And for some people who have really struggled with meditation, like they've really struggled, like, okay, Jenni, I sit down to meditate and I'm 20 seconds in and I'm thinking of my grocery list. And then 30 seconds in, I'm thinking about a hole I have in my sock. And then, and I struggled with meditation for years. And so when I really learned like breath work and I learned guided meditation, that's what really helped me that's what got me to fall in love with meditation, because it kind of forced me into that calm, peaceful feeling. Now, if you've never done breath work, don't panic. You don't have to have done breath work. If you're familiar with breath work, then yes, like when I do retreats, I will lead people through a breathwork session and then kind of leave everybody there listening to some music for like 20 minutes on their mat, guiding them through like a visualization, because I know at that point they're in that sweet spot of alpha or theta brainwaves, which is a really cool place to be. So yes, you can do it with breathwork. And even if you haven't done like official breathwork, taking deep breaths before you sit down to visualize is really important. I mean, your breath is directly related to like our nervous system. So why do people always say, take a deep breath? Because you're trying to calm the nervous system. So just, when you sit down, take a couple of deep breaths, focus on your breath, focus on your breath for a minute or so, and then just start thinking about it. Visualizing can also be as simple as, sometimes I'm driving down the road and rather than listening to country music, which is my favorite, I'll turn the radio off. If it's a nice day, I throw my windows down and I might put on some meditation music. And I'm not trying to meditate while I'm driving, but I'm just visualizing some things that I want to happen. And it's crazy. It's crazy when that happens. So yeah, you can, I don't want you to feel like it has to be this big process. A lot of people feel like, oh, to do this, I have to like get a yoga mat and sit cross-legged and light incense and do all this stuff. Like, you don't have to do all that. It can be as simple as driving down the road and do it. in the shower when the water's running over you, spending some time, do it when you brush your teeth, right? I mean, like just incorporate it into your everyday life, which is so important.
No, thank you, Jenni. And I will kind of piggyback on like just one little thing, kind of what Zach shared about working with your dad. So it was December 1st. I was visualizing my next big leader that I would partner with. December 1st, Alyssa Lakatos joined our team, and I was like, this day just feels special. I truly felt like there was the right alignment and energy. I had no idea that Zach Cheney had been like watching all of my information. My YouTube have been like secretly stalking me, if you want to put it that way. And guess what? We talked the evening of the 1st. And so yeah, it was something that I had visualized in the morning. I just felt like it was in the right energy and popped out of nowhere, Zach Cheney, which is wild.
It's always crazy. Like I had been visualizing leading a retreat overseas. I really wanted to lead a meditation retreat overseas, and I had visualized it. And I didn't do this 1 or 2 times. I'm talking, I had done this for months and made it part of my visualization technique. And then all of a sudden I kept thinking, I got the meditation piece, but how am I going to plan it? How do you find locations? And it just gets complicated. And I remember one time I was in meditation, and it was like, Jenni, you need to call your friend Julie. I mean, so long story short, Julie and I had worked together in corporate America. She had left corporate America. I knew she had been in Europe for a year or 2, and then she was back. So I called Julie that day, and I was like, Julie, I don't really know why I'm calling you. I just know in meditation, I got a strong intuitive hit that I needed to call you. And I said, I really want to plan a meditation retreat overseas. What do you think about that? And she's like, you are not going to believe this, Jenni. She's like, when I lived in France, she said, I planned an entire itinerary for a winemaker. And she said, I have all the locations. I have the complete itinerary. I have everything. And she said, but this person could never get any people to come. She said, so if you have the people, we already have it planned. And I've now led 4 retreats overseas. And we planned the first meditation retreat. And I mean, it was so effortlessly, you know what I mean? It happened in it was so shocking how easy it was. Now, that doesn't mean I don't believe in working hard. But I believe in alignment. Like Katie said, just being in alignment in that energy is so important. Yes, Maureen.
My mic is out. Read the comments.
Oh, I can hear you. No, I can hear you now.
Oh, it's saying my mic is out. Geez, sorry. Anyway, I had a friend that was a counselor, and she always said, what you say, so shall be. And I'm a big person like Janelle with visualizing it. But do you also believe in speaking the affirmation?
I believe in speaking, but I believe in not just speaking it. I believe in feeling it. And here's why I say it. I believe you've got to marry an affirmation with an elevated emotion. Like how many people have said an affirmation for 30 days in a row? And at the end of that 30 days, you're like, seriously? This ain't happening. I ain't feeling it. I ain't doing this anymore. Like this isn't working, right? So I believe a lot of times we confuse affirmations because we just speak it, and we speak it, and then we immediately go back to feeling fear and doubt, right? So that's I think you've got to marry that affirmation with that feeling that I talked about. Like what feeling would you have if that affirmation were true today? When you can marry those two together, that's when magic happens.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Great question. So I saw in the chat, there was a question, how we're going to get you the handout. Well, I know my part. I'm going to email Katie tonight, the handout. And then Katie, you tell them how they're going to get it after that. But I will literally, as soon as we hit end, I'm going to email it to Katie. Oh, you're muted. Oh, there we are. Oh.
No, I will post it on the crew. So everyone should have direct access to finding it, and I'll make it pinned to the top so everyone can find it.
Yeah. So I will get that. I'll send that out tonight. So you'll have that posted tonight, and just go ahead, y'all schedule a 1-hour appointment with yourself, give yourself the gift of time and space, go to the coffee shop, sit in a quiet room. I don't care what you have to do, but spend some time journaling on this. Like I said, it's only an hour. And I know all of us, myself included, we have blown more than an hour on social media. Like you go on social media thinking I'm going to do one thing, and then an hour later, you're looking at patio furniture, and you don't even need patio furniture. And you're like, how am I searching for patio furniture, right? So give yourself the gift of carving out 1 hour to make it happen. And it's really powerful. So if there's no more questions, Katie, I'll turn it back over to you. I don't know if you have more announcements or anything else to close us out.
Thank you, Jenni. Thank you so much. Well, guys, really don't have much more to say. Book that time with yourself. I know this time is, oh, Janelle had a question. Where do we find you, Jenni?
Yes, our website is, I'm going to put it in here, is birdgroup.com. But you can also, you can find the Bird Group on social media, but you can also find me, Jenni Bird Grier. So I'll put that in just so we get the spelling and all that. And so you can find me there.
Awesome.
But join our newsletter. I'll say from Bird Group, join our newsletter, because my dad and I write an article on mindset, personal development, and we send that out. We do not send a lot of marketing emails. I mean, the most amount of emails you're going to get from us is like 1 a month, and maybe at Christmas you get 2. I mean, so I promise it's not a lot. So if you want to get those emails, and we have all of our blogs, all that's posted on the website too, if you want to read about some more things on the blog and mindset and all that kind of stuff. I also, you'll see on the Bird Group, if you're interested, I've also launched a couple of online programs. So Mindset Mastery, the 12 Days of Mindfulness, the Key to Winning the Head Game. So lots of stuff out there if you want to check that out too. Bless you, Katie. I think you just had to sneeze.
A little cough, a little tickle. Yes, no, your guys' newsletter is so good. So everyone should subscribe to that. And if you guys are elites or higher, I know tomorrow, Jenni's actually hopping on to train on Marielle's line. Just ask your bronze or higher for the information. They have the flyer. But that's
my dad will be on tomorrow night. So you'll get him tomorrow night. So if you want to get the duo, you can have me tonight and him tomorrow night.
Perfect. Yes, I will get that to you guys. And it's going to be 6 o'clock Pacific, which I think is 9 Eastern. Yeah, I did the math. And then other than that, if you guys are not a part of the Royal Run, the 90-day run with Marielle and Frank Filipponi, guys, just do not be intimidated with the title of a 90-day run. You pick your pace, you pick your intensity behind it. We're just looking for, that buy-in, that accountability, that linking arms, staying close to the fire. Because we have, action calls that are a little different to power hours. We're going to be getting right into the action and the exposure. We're going to be rewarding and actually drawing cash prizes on people who are getting exposures, week to week. And then there's going to be specific calls, but we're going to be really focusing on like 1 or 2 live calls a week and then using recordings. So just planting a ton of seeds as we move into convention. And at the end of it, there's a retreat in Florida that you all are in the running to earn. And so there's a whole point system tied to that. So if you're not working directly with one of your leaders with a structured 90-day run, just reach out to me. You can join ours. There's a little chat tied to it. That way all the resources and communication is in your hands, and not like lost in a team page. So yeah, just reach out to me. You're more than welcome to join us in ours. It's nothing like exclusive. We just want to link arms with those who want to work and want to run and just work smarter on the holiday. Because we're not going to ask you to go work on Christmas. That would just be crazy. We want you to enjoy your family. So with all of that, I can't wait to, see and hear what your guys' reflection and time that date with yourself, that hour date with yourself is going to create. And excited to honestly just jump into an exciting new year as we go into 2022. Can you believe it? So love you guys so much. And Jenni, thank you so much for your time. You are a gift to us, and what a gift, this, 40 minutes has been. And I know so many of you guys, just the comments that were kind of streaming in, just how much this meant to you, the power in the topic, but also just your mind. It's truly, truly special. So thank you, Jenni, so much. Merry Christmas to you guys as we move into the back end of the month, but let's work smart and work strong. And we'll see you guys actually live on the QIQ. We have Frank Filipponi on Thursday. So invite into that. So take care, everyone. Have a good night.
Bye, guys.